Hello everyone, welcome to Lamazi Fabrics YouTube channel. I'm Liana and I'm going to be sewing the castagnette blouse with you today. It's a sew-along and I'll be sewing the version 2 without the buttonholes and with the frills. I'm actually wearing one myself, which I have made recently. um, this blouse and the fabric I'm wearing and also the fabric I'll be using has been part of our Lamazi Makers Club sewing kit, the luxury option. So yeah, some of you have got this fabric, some of you have got received the other fabric I'll be using, and you have all the supplies you will need to make either version. So you've got haberdashery for both versions. I'll talk you through in a minute what um, is required for each. Um, so yeah, I'm going to show you my blouse, the one I'm wearing. This is version 1. Um, it's got bishop sleeves, buttons at the front instead of the tie option. So I'm just going to walk back to show you what it looks like. You can see it's got really beautiful bohemian shape. It's got ruffles at the front going all the way to the back, and I've got buttons down the front using the button loops. Yeah, so it's very beautiful, and the fabric is a cotton jacquard. It's a pure cotton fabric which has a gingham style and has got these beautiful flowers. Can show you close up. It's got beautiful flowers woven into it, and the other fabric I'll be using today is also same cotton fabric in a lighter blue color and with smaller gingham style and the heart motifs woven into it. So the if you have missed out on our August luxury bag, they have sold out quite fast. We will have this blouse available as a sewing kit in the same fabrics. Both fabric options. We have patterns on the way, more patterns, so it does include the paper pattern. So yeah, there will be a sewing kit on the website if you missed out on a luxury bag. Okay, let's get going. Okay, so I've got all my pieces already cut out. So the version I showed you earlier of me wearing was the version 1 with the long sleeves, um, elasticated long sleeves and the buttons at the front. The version I'm going to be sewing now is the version 2, which has gathered sleeves and the ropes. So we have included the ribbons instead of the ropes in your sewing kit, which complements nicely to the embroidered motifs on the fabric. So what we've got here is the blouse. The bodice part of the blouse is lined, so you have cut out 2 of each pieces of the bodice. So we've front bodice pieces here, 2 of each. So there will be you'll be making the bodice part twice and then attaching them together because it's lined before you attach to the frill. And then I also have my back part of the bodice, which has also been cut out, and there is 2 of them here. So after showing you these pieces, I'm going to stay stitch the curved lines around the neckline and around the armholes on both front and back for these pieces, because they're prone to stretch. Stitch means just using normal stitch, just run across each curve just quite close to the edge. Apart from that, we have the top sleeve part, and then there's a frill part at the bottom, and then we've got this front ruffle which is attached to the back ruffle. This one, I think this is the sleeve part. Yeah, that's the back ruffle. Now, one watch out when if you haven't cut these pieces out already before watching this video, one watch out is that there is a mistake here. So the back ruffle is cut on the fold. So I left the paper on so I could remember telling you. So it's cut on a fold. However, there is a notch on the piece, which is totally unnecessary. So if you, like me, forget and cut a notch 10 times, you'll just end up with a hole in your blouse. So you have to ignore this notch. And then we've got facing, which is attached to the front ruffle. And that's everything. And the last piece is the button loops. So like I said, I don't need it for this version. I'm actually making this for Eve because she chose to not have buttons and just the ribbons at the front to wear it on a t-shirt, on the little camisole. Okay, so I have stay stitched my bodice parts where it's cut on the bias, so it has curved lines. So you can see there's a stitching running down on each piece. I've got 4 pieces of this front bodice and 2 of the back bodice, so they're all ready. Now, if you were to if you're making the option 1, then the first step in the instructions is to attach the button loops to the facing. However, I'm making option 2, which just needs the ribbon. So we're going to attach the ribbons to our front ruffle and the front facing. So before doing that, I have overlocked the outer side of the front facings. So both of them are overlocked, and then we need to sandwich this cute ribbon that matches fabric beautifully between the front ruffle and the front facing. So you can attach this to the facing or to the front ruffle, whichever way you find it easier and less confusing, because the ribbon has front and back as well. So you want to make sure that when you fold this in, the ribbon front side of the ribbon stays on the outer side and not the other way around. So I will clip this in place on my facing, and as I'm going to sew it on the facing, and then it will be less confusing which way around they should be attached. Okay, so now I know which way around the ribbon should be and where it goes. So next I'm just going to sew these onto the okay. So what I'll do is I'm actually going to remove the clip and position it under the sewing machine, and off we go. Just a tiny bit so it's attached. You can actually baste it with hand if you find it easier. It doesn't have to be sewn on the machine as long as it's attached, because you're going to sew it in between in a minute. Okay, it goes just above the notch, the first notch. Slightly higher and then lower a bit. I'm a bit perfectionist, doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, that's done. So next I'm going to move this back, lay my front ruffle pieces back to their position, Put the facings on top so the right sides together and ribbon stays out. Okay. You can match the notches. Make sure you cut all the notches for your size. Don't actually need to pin too many of them, just 2 or 3 is enough. Okay, and then my other facing. Okay, so I'm just going to sew them across now. The seam allowance for this pattern is 1 centimeter across. For the most seams, just the wrist and the hemming has got wider seam allowance, which is indicated in your instructions. Okay, that's done. Next, so we're going to iron this towards the facing that way, and then you fold over and iron again. So these have been ironed now, for right side and the back side, and I've tried to keep the front part slightly out over to the facing so you can't see the seam at the front. I'm going to put this aside now, and the next stage is to attach front and back of these parts together. So here I've got so we need to do this twice because we've got 2 of those. So with the right sides together, we'll put the back one down first, and then we'll put the okay. This actually I didn't pattern match, but it pattern matched itself quite nicely on this side at least. I tend to not pattern match in most cases, mostly because of time, because I'm rushing most of the time. Not ideal because sewing is for relaxing, but when you have lots of demands in life, you have to rush sometimes. So that's the one bit. And the other bit, oh, this side matches as well beautifully. That means I'm going to use this as the outer side of my blouse, and the one that matches less will be my inner side of the blouse. So, okay, so we're going to sew this with 1 centimeter seam allowance. I'm going to press this open now. We've got our front and back bodice parts sewn together, and I've pressed the seams open. So the next part is possibly a trickier part, where we are going to attach the lining, i.e. the 2 pieces that we've got, 2 bodice pieces we need to attach them together, and we need to sew them around the neckline. Okay, so we're attaching lining to the outer side of the blouse. So again, with the right sides together. So first you match the seams, the shoulder seams, and here I'd use normally my clips because it's quite thick. Don't have to plunge the pin through 4 layers, trying to protect my fabric as much as I can as I go. Okay, and then I can use a couple of pins just to keep them together before I sew. Okay. Use your fingers to align them precisely, the two parts. Okay, now let's sew them together. The seam allowance is 1 centimeter again. Okay, go around slowly around the curved lines. Make sure you stick to your 1 centimeter seam allowance. Okay. I'm now going to trim the seams to avoid the bulky areas, and clip them a bit in the curvy areas. So I'll trim the seams down a bit to avoid the bulk around the shoulders and clip where it's curvy. So, and then turn it out and then iron it through. So what I'll do is I'll make clips first. Just be careful not to cut the seams. Don't go as deep as seams. Be very gentle and careful here. Make little triangles at the curved lines. This helps it to sit nicely around the neckline. Okay, do one here. And then one there. And then I'll trim the excess parts a bit. You don't need so much bulk, especially at the shoulder seams. I've cut that off. Might be easier to use a proper larger size scissors. The smaller one is perfect for clipping, but not necessarily for cutting around. It's time to press now. So turn it inside out and press. Okay, so we have now a beautiful, it's coming together quite nicely. We've got our front and back pieces attached, and we've got lining attached to the outer side at the shoulder seam. So now we're going to sew the side seams together. So we're not going to sandwich the four together. So we're going to sew the inner and the outer, the lining and the outer part separately on the side seams. So for this, I'm going to open them up again and do this. So again, as if you're making two separate bodice parts. So attach your front and back together. I'm just going to use one pin only to put them together. It's quite a small part. Okay, same on this side. Then you sew them after with 1 centimeter seam allowance and press the seams open. You don't need to overlock this part because they will be sandwiched inside anyway. They will be hidden in between the lining and the outer part. Okay. Okay. Let's sew it together. Okay, 1 centimeter seam allowance. We're sewing front and back pieces of the bodice at the side seams. Right, we're going to press the seams open for now. So what we've done, if we take it in, turn it to the right side again, this is what we've got. The inside bit, the outside bit. So we've got them attached on the sides as well. And then when we'll put the sleeves in, we'll just overlock that bit. Okay, so the next part is to attach the ruffle. So we're going to sew the ruffle, attach the front to the back ruffle, and then sew it to the outer part of the bodice, and then hand sew it inside to the inner part of the bodice. Okay, so we'll put this aside. We've got our ruffles. So these are the front ruffles. So we're going to attach this to the back ruffle. This is our back ruffle. The right sides together, attach front to the back, this side and on that side. And after this, we'll gather them. Okay. That's one side. Right sides together. Okay, they're attached, so we're going to overlock these edges now. Okay, we have now attached and overlocked our ruffle pieces front and back. That's the beautiful front and the back. The next bit is to create a ruffle to gather them. So we're going to sew, increase. Okay, just going to make sure you can see that. I'm going to increase the my stitch length to the maximum. So okay, we need to make sure we don't stitch on the, and to avoid the facing, and just sew the gathering stitches on just the ruffle part. So I'm going to do a 5mm and then 1.5 centimeter. So the seam allowance will be right in between, and we'll remove the gathering stitches later. So I'm just going to do the 5mm one first, avoiding the facing. I've got it right there. So the next gathering stitch is going to be on the 1.5 centimeter. To the fun part now, going to the gathers. So for this, it's advisable to keep your bodice in front of you, because the gathering, there's less gathering at the front, but there's more at the back, so you don't have to pull too hard. I'm going to use these two and then spread them all across. Okay, let's see where we are. There are notches. We've got center notch at the back ruffle, and then we've got side seams that will help us align. So we're going to attach these to the outer side of our bodice, not the lining. We're going to sew the, I'm going to attach my side seams first, and then I know if I need to gather more, you have to attach up to there. So we should do a bit more gathering at the front. Let's see where we are at the back. We're just spreading our gathers evenly and trying to match the notches. I've changed the camera position and lighting, so hopefully you'll see it better. Okay, then we are matching the seams here perfectly, like that. Now we are going to fold in our facing and sandwich the gathered ruffle in between. As evenly as you can, because that's the most visible, well, that's the part you'll see the most. It's right in front of you at the top, near your bust. Okay, we are now going to sew this with 1 centimeter seam allowance and then remove the gathering. Okay, that's done. Let's see how it looks. That's your ruffles. I'm happy with this. It looks good, quite good. So we're going to remove the gathering stitches, and overlock the inside. Now we want to not damage the fabric when removing this, so I'm just going to do it in parts so it doesn't pull, because if you pull really hard you may rip the fabric, so you have to be careful on this. It doesn't want to move. Check which one. None of them want to move, so I'm just going to use the stitch ripper because it gathers here. Okay, that came out nicely. Do it in parts if it doesn't pull smoothly, because if you use force you can rip the fabric, you can make the holes in the fabric. So we're just going to overlock the inside bit and then hand sew the ruffle to the lining. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, so we have a couple of tips I'm going to give you now. So I have overlocked, after removing the gathering stitches, I've overlocked the inside part of my seams, and then let's snip off some excess threads, and then I've ironed the seams upwards towards bodice, so that way up. And then there's one tip I'm going to give you which is not mentioned in the sewing instructions. So now we are going to hand sew. This is the inside and that's the lining. Okay, so we are going to hand sew this, the lining of the bodice onto the ruffle by sandwiching the seam inside. So one thing I do when making castagnette blouse is, before you sew it on, you prepare the back bodice by actually pressing the seam allowance upwards. So this makes it much easier when hand sewing into it. So instead of you folding in as you go, you just press the seam up about 1 centimeter seam allowance, and then you just put it on there on top, and then stitch slip. So hand sew using the stitch slip. So we're going to do that now. So one of the tool that we included in our August luxury bag is this beautiful needle minder. It's got magnetic part to the bottom, and it's a beeswax from Generate, from Jen Hogs. So I'm going to use this beeswax to strengthen my seam of my thread. So it appears that I've lost part of my video because my equipment has run out of battery. So what I've done is I've sewn the sides of my sleeves and overlocked them. Same with the ruffles. So I've gathered them a bit and tried to match the size before overlocking the sides, just in case my gathering threads got caught. So now I need to attach them, right sides together. So one should be on the right side. So if you spread the gathers evenly here. Just like a little skirt. Okay, again I'm going to turn to the right way out. From the sleeve top in, try to match the sleeve seams as you go. Right sides together, right sides together. Pin them together or clip them together, whichever way you like. Okay, and sew them together, just checking the right sides. 1 centimeter seam allowance. Okay, and that's done too. So I'm just going to overlock these seams, get rid of all the excess threads, and put the sleeve in, and we're done. Well, hemming is last. We're going to not cover hemming because it's quite a long session. Okay, we have our sleeves ready, and we've got our blouse ready, which is beautiful. I have to make one for myself as well. We're just going to set the sleeves in. Double notches go to the front, so we're going to set this in. So for this, I'm going to actually put the blouse wrong way out, and sleeves go to the front, back to the back, and right sides together. Okay, just double checking again, notches match. So we're gonna attach the underarm seams first, and then find a notch at the top and match that next to your shoulder seam. And then work on the gathers to make sure it aligns nicely and smoothly. So now is the time to also match the notches of the blouse to the sleeves, the bodice to the sleeves. So we've got 3 layers here because the blouse is the lining and the front, and then the sleeves. So make sure you're catching all 3. Don't leave any out. It's a bit tight and it's easing out, but it's holding up. Okay, everything lines up perfectly. Again, make sure you catch all 3 layers and they're evenly lined up. Done. Right, so this first. You have to relax again. 1 centimeter seam allowance, and I will overlock after this. Make sure I'm catching it all. And done. Okay, have we got sleeve in? We do. We've got the sleeve in nice and neat. We are now going to repeat for the other side. Done. Right, sewing bit is done. I'm going to check that everything looks right before we overlock the inner sleeves. And we've got a blouse. So we're not going to do hemming now. But I'm going to finish the overlock the sleeves, finish the sleeves, and I will do hemming next in a separate session.